Alright, evening guys. Sorry, this video is coming out a little later than I had anticipated. Ran into traffic, painting, blah blah blah. Anyways, my name is Shane, aka Draco. Today, I'm going to be covering something that most of us probably already know, but for the newbies out there, I'm going to be covering finger roll basic, stuff like that. Anyways, so, first off, go check out the other videos that I made. If you want the actual video that those were based off of, look up Greg Irwin Finger Fitness. It's a little half-hour video, amazing exercises, and I recommend you do them every single day for a little bit. All these practices, some people sit down for 2 hours and do it like an actual sport. I don't have the attention span to do that. So I practice sporadically throughout the day. At work, at school, in class, when I'm walking, blah blah blah. It usually adds up to a pretty good amount of time. Anyways, so do your exercises, get your hands all warmed up, and get these wiggly phalanges all ready to go. So, finger rolls. Pretty basic, simple to do. The exercise for themselves is pretty easy on its own. Now as you do this exercise, if you're new, you'll find that when you do it overhand like this, it's a little harder to do. It was uncomfortable in my experience. I started underhand. Now, as you do this also, when I first started, my thumbs kind of wandered. So I can't emphasize enough to keep them tight, keep them locked in, keep them in the center of your hand. It creates a nice effect. So, as the exercise goes, take your hands, wrap around your thumbs. You're going to do one finger at a time. Right? Don't worry about smoothness. It'll come as you practice. One finger at a time. And be sure, if you're right-handed, practice your left hand. Start on your left side first. Left-handed, practice on your right. Start on your opposite side or your weaker side first, because your dominant side will pull from that, and it'll end up being just fine. You won't have to practice it quite the same. Right? So one at a time. And as you do this, make sure your center finger stays relatively connected. Again, your smoothness will come as you exercise. As you do this, make sure your hands stay flat. You don't want to tuck them in like this, because you'll get an overly tight, finger roll, and it'll look more like it's going in on itself. Look more like it's going in on itself rather than a wave. So, then you come over and practice it again. Thumbs tucked in, kind of sizing it up. So, from your weaker side first, or your non-dominant side, however you want to put it, one at a time. Tuck them down, and there you go. Right? One at a time. Now, as you get this exercise down, speed it up. And eventually, you get the wave. So from there, you are going to do the opposite finger rolls. One hand is underhand, one hand is overhand. Again, thumbs in, keep them in. So this one, when you practice it the one at a time method, it feels like you're doing it wrong. That's just kind of be expected to the nature of this particular finger roll. But as you do it, you'll get it down, right? again, one at a time. Keep your center finger together. Finish one hand before you move to the other. Da, 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 da. Right? And then eventually you get that. Again, practice it the other way. One at a time. Now, I don't like I said, practice your opposite hand often, or sorry, your weaker hand often, because you can kind of see it in my finger roll that I didn't start out doing my non-dominant hand first. Especially with this one, you can kind of see how unsmooth it is. This way is a little easier. What do you want, dog? Yeah, you. Stop being cute. Anyways, so with that being said, you can take the same concept of the one at a time motion, and you can do figure eights, clockwork or circles, depending on who you are. I've heard it called both. So when you do, let's start with figure eight. So with figure eight, you usually just stick one hand out. Alright, let's start underhand. So we're going to come over, right? Come over. Now this hand is going to come over as an underhand. So as you come over, you get about here. This hand can be over here now at this point. One. Try and get them close as possible. I've grown used to having it a little farther out because, you know, as you do it, it gets tighter. But as you practice, have it as close as possible. So, with one finger at a time, right? Now I got this all the way down, up and through. This hand is going to tuck in, come up, and roll over. During that whole time, you're making your circle, right? So it's going to come up, one at a time, one at a time, da 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 da, da 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 da. Now, as you start working on that, as you get a little faster at it, a good way to keep that figure eight tight is as you come over, you kind of want to roll. Let's not do my fingers real quick. So you kind of want to roll off the top of the other hand. I actually have my hands, you know, touching. So roll off, roll off, roll off. And once you kind of get that motion down, right, goes through, you can see it kind of tightens up the circles. Right? Practice lots. Practice is important. Anyways, so you, again, take it all slow, work at your own pace, and slowly build up speed, because you're working towards muscle memory. You don't want to work towards, don't start off fast and sloppy and build your muscle memory fast and sloppy. Slow, keep it clean, neaten it up as you go, and build your muscle memory appropriately. Because if you do it wrong from the start, you're going to do it wrong forever. And it's really hard to untrain yourself to do it right, the right way. Okay, so moving on to clockwork or circles. I call them circles. kind of like the figure 8, but instead when you're coming over, your hand's going to be, you're going to have two, excuse me, you're going to have your hands both, hands overhand or underhand. So I'm going to start like this. So here's where you start. I kind of like to start little crooks like this. So you get your one hand out, extend it as you come down, one hand at a time. But while you're doing that, you're going to be, so hand out, rotating. Now with this, be here, you're going to come up, going this way, you're going to roll your hand over, so now that you're like this, you tuck both your hands in, they're both underhand, crisscross your arms. So you got them like this, right? So, coming over, tuck them in, come over, cross over, and then as you come down to the bottom of the circle, start tucking in, your fingers. Roll over, come over the top, cross, again, same thing. Over the top, cross, tuck, right, cross, overhand, tuck, cross, underhand, tuck. Now, when you practice these, let's not make it too long. When you practice these, make your circles big at first. It's easier to do a giant circle than it is to do a, tiny circle. Because when you do a tiny circle, you kind of get a skewed circle, but when you do it bigger, it's a little easier to do and get the smoothness down. Remember that thumb, tuck it in. Anyways, yeah, it's a little easier to get the smoothness down. See, my muscle memory right there is a perfect example. I started out with my thumbs doing whatever. So I have a hard time keeping it tucked in. Untraining yourself is very hard. But that's the idea. Come back later. I'm going to be doing more of these videos. I'm going to be compiling as many concepts and as many exercises as possible for you all to pull from. And I hope you enjoy what I am going to do. Anyways, flow on. Enjoy your night.